Guatemala is recognized as one of the world's most dangerous countries. Criminal gangs fighting for turf have turned this Central American nation into a brutal killing zone. Thousands have fled out of fear. But there are political forces trying to lead a crusade against the violence. Joining us now is Guatemala's former Attorney General, Claudia Paz. She is the first woman to ever hold that position in the country. She has prosecuted organized crime figures and former Guatemalan President Elaine Reyes on trial for genocide. Claudia, welcome to the show. How would you describe Guatemala today in terms of way of life? Is it as dangerous as we've heard?
Sí, hubo un momento en Guatemala el año 2009.
There was a moment in 2009 when we had extremely high homicide rates. We had 46 homicides for every 6,000 people. Apart from that, fortunately, and because of the Ministry of the Public and the police, this has decreased this year, ending up at 33 for every 6,000 people. There have been important investigations to actually root out the extortion and the gangs to find the drug trafficking.
Y en contra del narcotráfico.
Tell us about the case that you prosecuted against former dictator Elaine Reyes. He was convicted, but that ruling was overturned recently.
Creo que fue un caso de extraordinaria importancia para mi país.
I think that it was an extremely important case for my country. This case started 14 years ago when the victims, accompanied by a human rights group, presented a complaint against the ex-head of state, Elaine Reyes, for the crimes of homicide and crimes against humanity. 14 years later, it was possible to see this trial through, and I believe that it was extremely helpful for the victims. We had more than 100 testimonies from survivors of the genocide, telling what had occurred and telling it in front of those who had done it. Included in these testimonies were women who were victims of sexual violence who dared talk about it, and how this was used as an arm of war. I believe the trial signified for Guatemala an advance in the justice system, even though we are waiting for this to become a reality again because the verdict was annulled by the Constitutional Court. I believe this is an opportunity in which we have a right to the truth, a right to justice, and a chance for Guatemala to move forward.
How
do you think that case will play out? Will there be an end to the Reyes case?
I hope so. I hope it will come to pass. For the sake of the victims, for the sake of the justice system, for the sake of the Guatemalan society, I believe that in order to move towards the future, to advance, we have to have justice.
According to the United Nations, about 80% of the cocaine that goes to the United States passes through Guatemala. How much of the justice system and the government is under the influence of cartels and organized crime?
The problem with drug trafficking is that it doesn't only pass merchandise across Guatemala. It's an enormous corrupting power, a ton of money, and also has an enormous lethal power which creates a lot of violence across all the border zones, the border with Honduras, El Salvador, and the south of Mexico. This is the place where it has the most influence with local authorities. The way in which we were most effective in dealing with the criminal organizations and the drug traffickers was to create elite teams which conducted great investigations. We went to these places which had criminal factions, those behind giving drugs to Guatemala, and we extradited them so they could be tried in their home countries. After, we seized their property to stop them from being able to continue committing crimes.
And because of the danger associated with that, tens of thousands of young people and children have fled the country. So in your opinion, what needs to be done to make Guatemala less dangerous and less violent?
I believe it is important to continue fortifying the justice system and the criminal investigation system. Action against the gangs with strong investigations will stop them from continuing their extortions. In the case of adolescents and children, offering educational and work opportunities in the country makes it so that gangs are not the only option in the worst slums, so that if they can't continue with their studies, they can aspire to a happy future in our countries.
Aspirar a un futuro feliz en nuestros países.
Claudia Paz, former Attorney General of Guatemala. Thank you so much for your time.
Gracias a ustedes.